We all love. We're round, we're skinny, we're big, we're small, but we have love in our heart, and we want you in, as long as you bring the love.
Hello, howdy, hey, hi, how you doing? I'm done. Okay. Anyways, it's been a minute again. A couple weeks. I'm trying to get better at this, but I'm not putting myself under any pressure to do these bad boys because I want to make sure I'm doing them for the right reasons. Yeah, feels. Anyways, so today, what I really wanted to go over is something that I learned in therapy last year. So a little bit of a background with me if you are new to this and this is your first time watching. Hi. Anyways, though, I went through prolonged exposure therapy last year. I actually started September of 2017, and then I ended the program May, June of last year. It's only supposed to be a 3-month program, but your girl is special. So, but anyways, a little bit about that. So if there's anybody that that needs to seek help or was thinking about different types of therapy and whatnot, prolonged exposure therapy is not fun. It's very ridiculous. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever put myself through, but also one of the best things. It's getting really warm now. The heat is on in the house. Anyways, but yeah, it is the hardest thing I've ever put myself through, but also the best thing I've ever done for myself. So it's focused on if you have PTSD, and essentially I'll just give you like kind of a gist of what the therapy's like. So set incident, like number one traumatic thing that like fucked you up, you pick that, and then you sit down with your therapist and you record yourself on the voice recording or memo or whatever. And yeah, so you record yourself during the session and you talk about the experience in the most detail that you possibly can for that session. And then after that, you listen to it every single day. You listen to your session, like talking about your incident every single day. And then on top of that, you then do things that you were avoiding or wouldn't do before, basically to, not to numb you, but basically everything that you've avoided before or you stopped doing or whatever, you learn how to be okay with it. So like by talking about your traumatic experience or whatever, it becomes, I don't want to say redundant, but basically like it's not as traumatic because most of the time people that go through this shit don't talk about it, right? So talking about that every Friday for 3 months straight, and then you having to listen to the newest session every single day, and then doing things that you normally wouldn't do, it does a thing, you know. I used to sleep in my car a lot. I sometimes, like if I knew I was going to be home alone, it was almost immediate, like I would have panic attacks at home and stuff. So there's times that I would just sit in my car for like literally hours, and wouldn't go to my house if I was home alone. If there was people over I didn't know, when I had roommates and stuff, like I would stay in my car because it was very uncomfortable. A lot of things, having male clients, like by myself in the facility, or you know, there's so many things in general even like my sexual health, like I'll be upfront, I don't fucking care. Like there's a lot of things that like I couldn't do and like affected my like every fucking day life. And so going through that was extremely fucking hard, but I was fully committed. Like I was ready for change. That's something like you have to be, if you're considering something, like you need to be ready for change. And then on top of that, you have to be willing to do everything that is required of you to get better and to do better. There's people that don't have success stories with it, because sometimes one certain specific type of therapy isn't for everybody, but there's a lot of times where people want to change but they're not willing to do what it takes for that change. Like they don't take the homework seriously, they're not fucking doing what they're supposed to be doing, what have you. So yeah, what should have been only a 3-month program turned into almost a 9-month program for me. And there was a lot of other factors going into it where like I was not doing so well too. And there was some time where like in the long run, like it did change my life, but like last year in general, like I was going through a lot of shit and just in general wasn't applying a lot of things, to the point that I was just a really ugly human being, like I talked about in my last episode. But I really started working on myself and applying the things that I've learned, and all in all, like practicing what I preach, but also just trying to be a better person, because I became a toxic person for a lot of people, and like never in a million years did I ever want to be a toxic person to the people that I love. So moving on, I'm in the best place I've been in honestly ever in my life. I have amazing fucking people in my life. I have amazing friends. I am in a place where I am now considered in peacetime. Like I don't have something I'm dealing with like a traumatic experience wise. I'm not stressed out. I don't have some crazy shit going on, like nothing. And I took the opportunity to be like, this is where I should work on more things. Like I'm in a good place, so then this only means I can get better. So I decided like there's things like I do want to change about myself. There's things I needed to, I feel like I still need to talk about. There's a lot of stuff from my childhood that all in all, like I really have never talked about. Very few people have I talked to about that, and yeah, like maybe 2 people. And stuff that like I know like childhood rooted, like there's a lot of things that I do need to talk about that I haven't talked about. So that, and then also Alex, for you guys that do know me, you know, absolutely, like that was the love of my life. That was the person I thought I was gonna marry, my best fucking friend. He passed away August of 2015, and it was fucking hell. Like it still sucks. There is literally never a single day that doesn't go where I don't think about him at one point during my day. You know, I always fucking love him, but I'm at a point in my life that like I have healed a lot. There's always going to be a part of my heart that's going to be broken for that, but I also think that like it's something I need to get help for, and not because I'm traumatized by it, but between my childhood and Alex, like I have some serious fucking commitment issues now, where I honestly, I'm terrified of losing people. I'm so scared. Like I could not go through that again, losing someone I love. Like I couldn't do that. So allowing myself to feel emotions and feel happiness and feel attached to the people that I love, I a lot of times just kind of numb myself out, so that in the very worst case scenario something happened to somebody I love again, it's not going to be like it was with Alex, and that's not healthy, right? Like I want to be able to be absolutely fucking in love again, and like not just love, but like without the insecurities of holding myself back, which is an issue. I want to be able to just be happy and allow myself to feel all of the happy feelings with the people I love. So I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity, that like because I'm in a good place, just continue to thrive off of that and work on the things that I need to work on. So, and I talk about this stuff really, guys, to normalize therapy. I think that like it is such a good thing if you're ready for it. It took me over 23 years to finally decide to get help. Growing up, like I was forced into therapy like nonstop, and like that was the solution, or it was court mandated and whatever, and I never got any good experiences or anything good out of it. So like I had a bad taste in my mouth from that, but finally like it was just like, all right, like put aside my pride, you need fucking help. It's fine, it's okay. So if you're one of those people that like your ego is too big, or you don't think you need help, or maybe you're on the fence, like fucking try it. And I'm doing this through the VA, and like I know the VA has a really bad rep, but I will say I've been through the VA in Long Beach, and I transferred over to Oceanside because that's where I'm at. And when it comes to the mental health professionals, I've had the best fucking experiences with them. If you end up not liking like a therapist or whatever, all you have to do is say something, and they'll like, not everyone is horrible. Like I can't say the same for like the medical per se experience with the VA, but when it came to the mental health, so far I have had incredible experiences. So long story short, I went last week, had my consultation, and we're like, hey, what are you really here for? And like basically came to the conclusion that for the first time ever, I'm trying group therapy, which is something I've always been iffy about, and I was like, fuck no, last year or the year before. But honestly, I'm at a point where I'm like, who the fuck am I to say no? I've never tried it, and I'm not. I'm a person that's like, don't knock it till you try it. And it's women that have had sexual assaults or sexual trauma in the past, and so I was just like, whatever, fuck it. Like, you don't talk about your experiences in this group. It's actually really solely based on your cognitive behavior and creating good mental attitude, changing your mindset on things, like learning how to kind of just like your mental health in the aspect of training your mind to undo all the like negativity, toxic behavior mindset that you have. So I was like, whatever, I'll try that. That's every Wednesday. And then the other, like my one-on-one is going to be it's called, the program's called Veterans Choice, I believe. So if it's over a 30-day waits, you get to go see a doctor, therapist, whatever. This is for across the board for the VA. You get to get outsourced through somebody outside the VA, which is awesome. So you're not waiting like these ungodly amount of time that the VA used to make people do. So anyway, so that one-on-one is going to be outside the VA, and that's going to be focused on childhood trauma and Alex, which I think is going to be really good. Anyways, now that we're all caught up, 20 minutes later, I just wanted to kind of be transparent in background so you guys like know what the fuck I'm about it. I'm all for it. I'm doing it. I'm still actively seeking this, but there's a lot of things that I've already shared on episodes before of different things to do to better your mental health, and there's something we revisited today in therapy today that like we actually did in prolonged exposure last year, and even though I was like, this is stupid, this is redundant, whatever, I did everything required of me in PE. So anyways, so there's this thing, it's called the ABC worksheet, and it's really tedious when you write it out, but I think it's a phenomenal fucking thing. I started it last year, so we got reassigned this stuff today, and I was like, ooh, this might be something that might help other people. So I was like, fuck yeah, let me tell you guys about it. But yeah, I did this religiously last year, and even though I didn't think of like anything of it per se, it ended up changing like my mindset a lot about how I think, right? So like a lot of us think something, for example, something happens, boyfriend breaks up with you, a friend, even if a friend invites you and you're like an introvert to like a party, or We'll go with those 2 examples. So something happens, like a boyfriend breaks up with you. So ABCs, right? I wrote this out. So hopefully I explained this pretty well and that you guys can read this. Oh, it's backwards, isn't it? Okay, so I'll just explain it. So the ABCs. So A means activating. So that's when the incident, whatever incident happens, right? Initially. The B is the belief. So after this thing happens, what do you tell yourself? What is the first thing that goes through your mind? And then the C is consequence. So after this, like, you feel and then you act upon it, right? So the activating thing, for example, the boyfriend broke up with you. Your belief is, I'm not good enough, right? Or I'm just throwing out examples, okay? So boyfriend breaks up with you, like, I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me, I'm so stupid, he's probably, like, there's something wrong with me, A through Z, if that makes sense. Consequences, someone might end up being suicidal, or someone ends up, like, not wanting to date again, or, like, I'm throwing out some pretty, I don't want to say extreme things, but, like, this stuff happens to a lot of women, or, like, they end up doing some dumb shit, like, I don't know, or for the friend thing, like, if you're an introvert, like me, for example. So, like, one of my best friends, Tara, she's a huge extrovert. She gets invited to these really cool things all the time. And if you don't know her, she's a promo model. She's fucking gorgeous. All in all, just an amazing person, right? I, on the other hand, am actually an introvert, but I have extrovert tendencies, and I have a certain specific personality type that goes into play with that, and I'll do a YouTube video on that sometime because I think it's really interesting. Anyways, so this is a real example. There was a time where this is like a vague, but like this happens too. So like Terry invites me for a weekend in set place, and I know specific people are going to be there, and I'm not going to say it's like modeling people or whatever, but it's a group of people that like I'm not around a lot. So my belief, and now these are hypothetical beliefs, my beliefs are like, they're not going to like me, or I won't fit in with that group, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not skinny enough, like whatever. There's some extremes. I think mine was, there's a legitimate excuse, like it was my birthday weekend, and so I wanted to be with like all my friends, not just like with Tara and then a bunch of people I didn't really know, but just as a hypothetical. Ooh, my earring just fell out. As a hypothetical, like, I think a lot of women can relate, like when you're surrounded by a lot of other really pretty women, and you're not in that profession, you're not in that, it's normal for people to feel out of place, right? So I have all these like negative beliefs, right? And so consequences, like I don't go, right? It's a really big thing that I made that way more serious. This is just an example. I did want to go if it wasn't really my birthday weekend and everything, but like me feeling like I wouldn't fit in and stuff, like I do have actually really bad social anxiety. So this is like a good example where like something realistic like that would go, if that makes sense. So anyways, I know this, here, let's stand there. Take a picture of this if you can. And I know this sounds silly, right? Like this is just like, okay, Erica, this is dumb. So we have a piece of paper that literally looks, can you guys see that? Like that, right? And so when I first got assigned this, she was like, every time there's an incident, so like for me it was panic attack, or I started freaking out, or like I had a depressive episode where like I couldn't even get out of bed, or like, but something caused that. So like, okay, why am I feeling overwhelmed? And like sometimes you feel the emotion before you think about like what triggered it, and you have to think about that. So there's days where like I used to not be able to get out of bed and I felt like I was suffocating. I'm like, oh my god, like what's what's wrong. And like, so there's usually a specific thing that like initially triggered it and I just didn't think about it. And then so you write that down. And then you write down your beliefs. So like, what did you tell yourself? Like, you're not good enough, or you're pretty enough, or like whatever. And then there's obviously the consequences that you think about that, right? So over time, when you're writing these different scenarios and stuff and you write it out, like you think about like, wow, that was kind of stupid for me to think like that. When you, especially when you write things out. I don't like writing things out all the time. I actually prefer to type things out because it's faster and I'm impatient, but the power of writing is a real thing. And so again, I followed this shit to the T. So I wrote it out multiple times for different incidences. And basically it's just to kind of understand your mindset on like certain things. Most of the time, for a lot of us that struggle, it is obviously toxic and negative, right? So you keeping track of this, of like, this makes me feel this way and this is what I do. Like, I sometimes have I've been working on, I have a compulsive behavior. So a lot of times this is cognitive behavioral therapy in a sense. And so learning why I make these drastic decisions about things, or say off the wall shit once in a while or whatever, like, why am I doing that? Why is it so bad? Like, you know, and so understanding yourself and like what like triggers you or makes you feel a certain way, you can rewire how you think. So like, boyfriend breaks up with you. Oh, I'm so stupid. Okay, so that's what you feel. Is that realistic? And so once you write all this stuff down, like you actually take a step back after a while, and then you're like, was that realistic? And you have to be honest, like, was that realistic, or was that just based off of pure emotion? It's like, no, that's not realistic. You are good enough, right? A lot of times we have this insane self-doubt and like, you know, we think so poorly of ourselves because it's so much easier than to put the blame on someone else, especially when you love them, or that's just an example, right? But understanding how you react to certain situations, it's like, okay, how can I think about this differently? And like drilling this over and over and over again, like you start to do this on your own. So like when something happens and like, no, like back then it would be automatically negative, I can take a step back and be like, Erica, is that the situation, or is that just you acting on impulse, or that's how you feel right now? But looking at things from the bigger picture, like this does genuinely help, especially if you apply it. And it's funny that we're having to do this again, so now I'm having to write it out again, but I'm down because if you're doing something, you're all in, right? But it is something super powerful if you actually do it. And you don't have to necessarily write it out forever, but it does help you take a step back, think about like, especially scenarios and situations that most, like if you're typically a negative person, or you think the worst, or you're really insecure or whatever, you would typically be negative or super outrageous. It's not outrageous, but like you would be typically toxic towards yourself about the situation. So it allows you to kind of like see the clear, bigger picture and take a step back and be like, damn, I was being a little, don't want to say emotional with the situation, but that's really not how it is. Like, boyfriend broke up with you. Okay, probably was a toxic relationship, or it was honestly him and not you, or both of you guys. Like, we're so quick to be negative and put the blame on ourselves and think irrationally and think very negatively on ourselves because that's easy, right? We were programmed since we were young. You know, we weren't taught how to love ourselves. And so this really helps you recognize your thought process, taking a step back, looking back on it and saying, okay, that was unrealistic. That is not real, and that's not the truth. And so when you start doing that more often, you're able to rationally think about things. And a lot of times, like, it takes time. Like, it took me over a year to really start taking a step back from, like, especially when I get heated or upset or sad, like, it's very easy to crumble. But when you take that moment to take a step back and you're like, okay, Erica, this is the facts. This is the truth. This is your assumptions. This is your negative beliefs. And if you can learn how to change your beliefs, so if you can learn when something happens, you can change the be, then your whole mindset, the consequences, everything else starts changing too. So nipping that in the butt from the beginning will help you in such an immense way that, like, I don't know if this is even helpful towards anyone, but if it is, I really like sharing this stuff. You guys know from before, I'm a huge supporter of doing something for yourself once a week. That's another big one. And I've reiterated that in other videos. But again, doing something for yourself, whether it's like self-care, right? So first, for girls, like maybe a manicure, pedicure, or going to the beach, or spending time with your dog, or something even so tiny, and making that time at least once a week for yourself is life-changing as well. There's just so much like good stuff that you can do if you're ready for change. A lot of people that are like the naysayers or whatever, they fail to see that there's anything wrong with them, and they don't think that they can change. And that's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. Like, if you are depressed, you're dealing with PTSD, any type of mental health, obviously if it's a chemical kind of thing and you need medication, 100% for that. I am not on medication. I don't want to be on medication. I want to do everything I can in my power to be able to, I don't want to say do this on my own, but there's no shame on being on medication should you need it. I was on medication when Alex first died, like 100%. Like, I was on 3 different medications, and there's no shame in needing that extra help if that's what you need. However, everyone can change. Everyone has the potential to change, but if that person isn't ready for it, they don't want it, or they don't think that they need it, you're not going to be able to see any change. But if you're on that fence and you actually do want to change, I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm huge on mental health. I am a huge believer of seeking help. If you guys have any questions, whether it's on PE, cognitive behavior, what have you, I think it's very, very interesting. There's a lot of resources out there, especially for you veterans. But if you happen to be one of those people that don't have health insurance and you can't get that help and you're just looking for ways to help yourself, I hope this does help. I hope this helps anybody that needs it. And if you guys have any questions, comments, message me, whatever. But please like, subscribe, all that stuff. Makes me know what you guys do like, what you don't like, if it's helpful, if I need to shut the fuck up and delete this thing, all that. So anyways, and full disclosure, I am not a therapist. I am not a professional when it comes to stuff like this. I am just a huge firm believer that physical and mental health go hand in hand. Working on my psych degree, but I am not a professional by any means. I'm just literally conveying the message of what I've been taught and what has worked a lot for me. So if this can help somebody else, whatever. If you have an emergency, you guys know, call 911. If there's a veterans hotline as well, what is it? Veterans Crisis Line, 1-800-273-8255. Press 1 for veterans. And I'm assuming if you're not a veteran, you just don't press anything. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of resources out there for you guys. So hopefully that helps. This is a longer video than I anticipated. Anyways, peace, love, harmony. Okay, I'm done. So may the happiness be with you.
We all love. We're round. We're skinny. We're big. We're small. But we have love in our heart. And we want you in, as long as you bring the love.